Imagine if you could double your reading speed, but not even double your reading speed. That's a tool, right? Imagine if you could double your comprehension of whatever it is that you were reading. Imagine if you could step into this state of flow whenever you chose to. Imagine if you were writing a book or writing an essay or writing any kind of even content for social media, you were able to step into this idea of genius, this area of flow, and escape any kind of writer's block that confronted you. Well, today we're talking about all those things, right? Because in today's world of information overload, it's not even so much about how quickly we can read through the information, but how much of it that we can comprehend that will actually make a positive difference and impact in our lives. And today, specifically, we're going to speak with the world's fastest reader. I'm sure you've already heard of him. His name is Howard Berg. He's got a ton of different awards and records and learning processes, and he's the creator of all these ideas and methodologies we'll be talking about today. But you know the one fee for listening and watching the show. And we don't run ads, we don't have sponsors. The only thing we ask you is once you take away a piece of value, anything that causes you to think in a different way, maybe we even made you simply smile, then share this show with one person who could use this information as well. So without further ado, let's talk to the world's fastest reader himself, Mr. Howard Berg. And for those who don't know Howard Berg is recognized as the world's fastest reader thanks to the cutting-edge accelerated learning techniques that he developed that turn information overload into information assets. Respected internationally for his contribution to the learning process, he's listed in the 1990 Guinness Book of World Records for reading more than 25,000 words a minute and writing more than 100 words a minute. Howard uses his talents to train you on how to stay on top of the information that your success depends upon. And this man is still out there sharing his insights and principles because he knows that the world needs it more now than ever. So, Howard, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. It's an honor to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. I loved your intro, by the way. It was very well produced.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Howard, how did you get into this world of, in essence, transforming a part of the education system? How did you find yourself in this world of speed reading and comprehension? What did that look like for you?
Well, it started when I was young. We lived in the projects in Brooklyn, East New York. If you're familiar with East New York, Brooklyn, not a place you want to grow up. It was West Side Story without the music and dancing. I met Bernardo. He had a knife. He wasn't smiling and he did dance. I found the safest place in my neighborhood was the library. Gang kids treat libraries like vampires treat churches. They don't go there. The worst thing in a library is you get a paper cut, which is a lot better than what you got on the outside. So I read a lot and had college reading when I was 11. I went to the State University of New York, Binghamton, when I was 17 to major in biology. And in the second half of my junior year, I got interested in learning in the brain. So I told the dean I also wanted to major in psychology. And he said, "You only have 1 year left. You have no psych courses. You have to do the whole 4 year curriculum in 1 year and finish the bio curriculum." He says, "You have to take 6 science courses a term and 2 4-hour labs." Lab reports were on slide rules then. So it was 16 hours to do a lab report. That's 40 hours of lab, 18 credits of science. And to make it hard, I had 3 jobs. I was working 18 hours a week. He looked at me and he said, "You're not smart enough." And that's when I realized no one taught me how to learn in school. They tell you what and why and how, but not how. And what will happen when you don't learn. So I decided I was going to do it anyway. I got up to 80 pages a minute using what I was learning about the brain. I did the psych program in 1 year. I didn't finish the bio program because I didn't take a physics class. I did all the bio courses. I took the GRE in biology, which is an SAT for graduate school. And I reviewed like 48 books in 3 nights, like biochemistry, genetics, cell physiology. That's not light reading. That's not Harry Potter. And I got 3 questions wrong. So I was in 800. I was in the 99th percentile. And then I was wondering, was it me or the system? There's a difference between you can do something remarkable or you can make people remarkable by teaching them how to do it. That's not the same skill. So I got a group of young people, 11 to 15. That's fairly young. And we gave them a 30 chapter book in lifelong developmental psychology, a sophomore college course. They're 11 years old. They did it in a week. And then they took the AP test, which is called a CLAP, and 15 out of 18 youngsters passed the course in a week. And it's a sophomore college course. So I said, okay, now it's bigger than me. It's something that people can learn and use. So I teach Fortune 500 companies how to make more money by using information. I teach parents how to help their kids get through school, get higher grades, so they'll live with them till they're 40, which is happening a lot today. And I teach seniors, I'm 72, how to stay mentally fit. So you don't turn into a vegetable as you're getting older. You maintain your mental acuity. It's the same system. It's just what you read. The senior reads a novel. The business person reads a spreadsheet. The kid reads a bio book. But reading is reading, learning is learning, memory is memory. What changes is what you read and learn, not how it's done. And it's been very exciting to see some of the things that have happened as a result.
Absolutely. It's an interesting story of how you developed and found the need to learn faster yourself. And you invented this for yourself, but then you found that others needed the same thing. And you've been able to teach people from all different areas of life on how to
All
do,
over the world, all over
yeah,
the
for years and years. I'm curious, when you were first discovering this process for yourself, when you were in college, how did you go from where you were to reading 80 pages in a minute? How do you make that leap? Like, especially when you don't have information like we have it today where you can watch a podcast and learn how to do it. How did you discover
yeah.
this
There
for
was
yourself?
no internet at all. No internet. The biggest thing you had was a typewriter with two colored ribbons. That was the big breakthrough. You could go black or red. And if you had a really good machine, you could go black or white to write it out on the ribbon. It was a major breakthrough in technology. If you'd like, I could actually show you how to start rather than just tell you what I did. I could get you to do it. I think that'd be even better if that would be okay.
Yeah, that sounds great.
After we're done, and this is also for our audience, pick a book you've read that you understood. So the only reason you're confused is your speed. If you're reading quantum physics and you don't know anything about it, there's a reason you're confused. It's quantum physics. If you're reading something you know a lot about, there's only one thing that could confuse you is your speed. So take a timer. A lot of you have smartphones or smartwatches. Time yourself for a minute and read normal, nothing special. Just see how far you get. So you have a measurement of your current speed. And then take a pen or a pencil, put a little mark right where you finish. So you measured where you could go. Now the magic. Go to the second chapter, take your hand, go across one line at a time with your eyes following your hand. And this is important, as fast as you could comprehend. So as long as you know what you're reading, go quicker and quicker and quicker till you reach a point where you don't know what you're reading. That's when it got too fast, because you should know what you're reading. You understand the book. Slow down just enough so the comprehension comes back. And for 5 minutes, go as quickly as you can comprehend, not faster, not slower. After you've done that for a little practice, go back to the first chapter where you tested yourself. And again, time yourself for a minute. Use your hand going as fast as you could comprehend. And you'll see that spot that you marked off. You'll go 20 to 40% further. Just doing that one single change. That'll make the first step. And then I could go on and talk about how to comprehend better at the highest speeds.
So just to be sure I heard you right, you take a finger or your hand like this,
And yeah.
your whole hand on the page so that you can only see the sentence that you're currently
And
scanning.
keep it moving. And the eye is right here. It's following your hand. And it's scanning one line at a time like a scanner. As fast as you understand. If you don't know what you're reading, it's too fast. If you do know, go as fast as you can till you don't know. And then go down just enough. That's the sweet spot where you do know what you're reading. Doesn't mean you're remembering it. That's another skill. but you're reading and understanding, and that's as fast as you can understand at this time. Now, it takes about 3-4 hours to go 100% faster with very, very good comprehension. But we don't have 3 or 4 hours today, so I can't go into every detail. That's what's in the full program. But this is step one, and it's very easy to see that it'll work.
So you're telling me within 4 hours, I can go from where I am to 100% better and understand and remember what it is that I read.
We did a double-blind efficacy test with 100 random people using the Nelson-Denny, which is a standardized test for speed and comprehension. And we did a split test to make sure the second test wasn't simpler and made you look smart. Like the first test was college and the second test was junior high. We did an A and B and a B and A group. The two groups were compared statistically using an analysis of variance, and there was no deviation between the two groups' results. Everyone doubled or quadrupled with very good comprehension. Most doubled. Now, that was immediate. That's not like days later. That was immediate. By the time they were done. Now, my experience has been if you practice a skill, it gets better. It becomes more acute. Anything you've done over time improves. So that's your initial improvement without practice.
Wow. So now that we've taken our hand, we've gone through the process that you just laid out here, which is fascinating, by the way. No one's talking about this stuff. You really don't see this or read this anywhere. You take your hand and you're reading along, and you go back and you test your progress. You've seen that you've gone 20 to 40% quicker. But you said that doesn't necessarily help you to comprehend the information. Is there a second step to comprehending what you just read?
And it's more important. Nobody wants to read faster. Learn faster. That's what people want. Read faster? No. No one gets up and says, I want to read fast. They want to learn fast. So speed reading, the way it's traditionally taught, it's mostly those hand movements, and it's extremely poor for good learning, for high-level learning. About 20 years ago, when MSNBC first launched, one of their first hosts was Dick Cavett. He's a very famous host from the 60s and 70s. And we got to be friends. After the interview, he was chatting with me, and he said, I interviewed Woody Allen. And he told me he took Evelyn Woods, which was the big program at the time. And he read War and Peace, which is enormous, in 5 minutes. He says, Woody, that's incredible. What do you remember? And Woody said, it's about the Russian Revolution. And that's all I remember. And that was speed reading. It's a book about biology. It's a book about math. Did you learn biology? No. Did you learn math? No. And if you slow down to learn the words or the formula that you didn't know, you lost your speed because it was always going fast. It was all or nothing. You had to continually stay at that speed, which is impossible in unfamiliar material. You don't know any words or names or formula. You have to slow down and learn them. I fixed it. The gentleman who owned Evelyn Woods in its heyday was Maurice Thompson Jr. He hired me to teach his son my system. And he said, you've gone past speed reading, speed learning, bringing in the 21st century. Let me show you one of the main things I did. Now, remember, I studied the brain, and one of the key elements in comprehension is called schema. It's how the brain makes sense out of words on a page. I'm going to demonstrate it. You can see exactly how it works. This first demonstration is text that has no schema, and watch how confusing it is. The words are easy, but there's no schema. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake, and it costs you quite a bit of money. There's no meaning. I'm going to read it a second time. This time with a title, one word, but it has schema, and instantly everything will make total sense. Laundry. Laundry. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake, and they cost you quite a bit of money. I'm training people where these clues are. So they're going 2, 3, 4 times faster, but the clues are like a decoder ring. They make the words on the page make meaning and significance to your brain. In very technical material, law, medicine, accounting, which is high level learning. This isn't reading a novel. It works at the high level, so it definitely works at the lower level. That's the most challenging reading. We're talking at graduate school level learning. We had a group of military people who finished their MBA in 1 year using this with honors while they were enlisted working 12-hour shifts in the military. And they still managed to get honors in a multi-year program in 1 year. So we know that it's working. We did it in a graduate school, Eterno, and it was operations management, which is the toughest course in the MBA. It's like the organic chemistry course for biologists. And they had a standardized test. The curriculum was an 8-week course. They finished in 3 weeks using the system. The average grade in the 8-week course on the standardized test was 75. The lowest grade in our class in the 3-week version was 92 on the same test. So we cut the time by 5 weeks and raised the scores 20 points at the same time. So
That's absolutely astounding. This idea of schema, though, I'm not understanding it. Is there a different way that you could explain, like what exactly do you do different while you're reading in order to better comprehend that which you are reading?
there are specific places in the text that you're trained to look for that have the terms, the words that decode, that create the significance and meaning of the text. So when you're reading something and say, I don't get it, it's probably because the schema is poor or you don't comprehend the schema. So if I'm using a word like Agileus phoenicius, which is a term in biology, you probably wouldn't know what it means because you're not a biologist. And not even every biologist would know what it means. But if you're trained in ornithology, you'd know it's a red-winged blackbird. So what I'm teaching people is how to find what these terms mean and make sense out of it at a much higher rate. So even though they're going quicker, their understanding is much better, which to me is much, much more important. Here's to me what the point of this is. I had an 84-year-old read 3 books in 3 hours the day after I taught her. So imagine you're an entrepreneur or a business person, and you read a book in an hour every day on a skill. One day you learn Photoshop. One day you learn how to make videos. One day you learn how to do pictures. One day you learn how to write copy. One day you learn NLP. Every day for the next year, you learn a new skill, a life-changing skill that can increase your productivity and your profits. Where will you be a year from now? 10 years, 20, 30, 40. I'm doing it 50 years. I've read almost 30,000 books.
Wow.
So the information in my brain is unique. And I'm eclectic. I read all over the map on purpose, things that shouldn't be in a single brain. I'll read a book on quantum physics, a book on existentialist philosophy, and a book on astrology. Nobody's supposed to be into all that. It's too diverse, and they don't.
Normally, there isn't enough time.
And they don't click. Like, why would you read astrology? You're a psychobiologist. I'm interested in symbols and how symbols influence the unconscious, which is what Carl Jung studied. And it's very significant. We'll get to that later. It's the key to genius. So what happens now is the brain has got all this information. It doesn't seem to fit. But then you get a problem to solve. And you've seen dozens of ways of looking at it through different lenses that most people don't have. You're a doctor, you read medical books. You're a lawyer, you read law books. You're not going outside of your niche. And most entrepreneurs stay in that niche. When you're traveling around other niches, suddenly you see things they're doing your niche should be doing, but no one recognized it because they weren't looking. And you're the first one. And then you're the one who makes the break. A good example, when Steve Jobs looked at the Captain Kirk cell phone that flipped open, that's what everyone had at the time. He looks at it and he says, I could make that screen into a monitor, throw a chip in it, and we could run programs on it. It would become a microcomputer. And it just happens to also do phone calls. Well, we called it an iPhone. It worked out pretty well. Then he looked at it again. He said, I can make it bigger. I can make it the size of a piece of paper. I'll call it an iPad. That worked out pretty well also. Everyone saw the phone. He was the only one who saw a mini computer. That's genius. And that's what business is about, having more information. Warren Buffett reads a book a day. Gates reads a book a day. Oprah reads a book a day. Jack Ma reads a book a day. Elon Musk reads 2 books a day. Look at their bank account. How does it help them? Look at your bank account and ask yourself, what are they doing every day that you aren't doing?
That's a great question.
You could see it. You could see it in the results that people are getting. I had, like I said, we did a program. We made $65 million. I was a biologist. What do you know as a biologist in selling, marketing, communicating? That's not what you get trained in. You talk about cells and nuclei and bio pathways in the cell, with the Embden-Meyerhoff cycle, Krebs cycle. That doesn't help you market to anybody. But I read a lot, and I used what I learned. So when I did my commercial, I was communicating the way I needed to get people to know what I was doing would help them and change their lives for the better. People buy when they know, like, and trust you. And that's not a magic trick. You have to do something to earn the trust, to get them to like you, to build a relationship, and do it in 23 minutes. Enough for them to want to open their pocket and get your program or product. It's something everyone in business needs to learn. No matter what business you're in, your primary business is marketing, because without customers, no matter how good your product or service is, no one's going to know. So that's where most businesses fail. They're very good at the business central core. They're a plumber, they're an electrician, they're a programmer, and they're very good at what they do, but they have no customers. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to do business. They just know how to do the thing that they do. That's not going to work in business. You have to know both skills, the skill that you're selling and how to sell it. That's where reading comes in and training.
Yeah, I've been reading like 4 or 5 books a month, and I thought that I was doing a pretty good job. And compared to a lot of people, that is a good job.
Most people read 4 books a year at most. That's college grads too, by the way, not the general population. Those are the heavy readers.
I think it'd be safe to say that you spend a lot of money on books.
It's not just books; it's ebooks. That's what I was going to tell you at the end. I just did a program on how to read on e-readers. More people today are reading Kindles and Kindle apps and laptops and computers and phones than physical books with paper. This is where people read today. And they're watching videos and they're listening to podcasts and audios. So what I've done is I've added on a 90-minute module on how to learn on these new electronic medium. So it's no longer just about how to read a book, but how to learn and all the different types of materials that people are now using for learning. And I don't think anyone's done that before.
Yeah, I agree. Sticking to traditional books, because I want to talk about your new program for sure. You have a lot of different programs at berglearning.com, and I know that you've still got a Black Friday special that's running right now for all these different programs. With what we're talking about right now, with the initial learning how to read faster, learning how to comprehend what you're reading, which program would you personally recommend people to get the basic understandings down so that they can double their reading speed within 3 to 4 hours?
Well, there's 3 versions of the reading program. For our audience, the professional version would be most applicable. It's for business. There's one for students, like college and high school students. And we have one for kids from kindergarten up. It's more their parents do it with them, because you're kindergarten, you can't read yet. So we have 3 versions of it. Let me tell you what makes it different. Most speed reading programs are reading. That's not going to work. First, you learn how to read faster. Then you learn what to look for. So you don't learn information no one wants. How many times have you taken a test and none of the things you knew were on the test, but everything else? So you look like an idiot, even though you did a lot of hard work. So it's important to have a sense of what do I need to know so I don't learn the wrong material. So I can filter out superfluous material that it's irrelevant. So you know what to look for. You're looking for it 2, 3, 4 times faster. Then study skills. How do I understand what I just read? I read the calculus book. I understand the formula. I don't know how to solve any problems. If you gave me a problem, I couldn't do anything with it. I don't know how to use the formula. Another level of learning. Then I teach how to remember memory skills. So you can remember the information so you can use it when you need to use it. Another skill. And then a very big piece is emotional intelligence. If you get nervous taking a test or presenting live in an audience, you don't remember anything. You lose your state. So when you combine EQ skills, study skills, memory skills, comprehension skills, and reading skills, it's a Swiss Army knife. It isn't just go read fast and a magic trick will happen and you're just going to know everything. No, that isn't how the world works, and your brain isn't designed to do that either. But what I'm doing is working what I understand about the brain and learning, and I'll demonstrate some of it today as well to lock it in. If you want, I could show people how to remember.
That would be incredible. Please.
Okay. So people say, well, yeah, you read 80 pages a minute. Do you remember anything? There are many ways to remember. No one way works for everything. If you're learning a language, it's not reading a newspaper. Reading a newspaper isn't studying science. So I give people a toolbox with different choices. I'm going to show one of the tools now. I'm going to give you 10 things to remember. I won't show you how. You won't be able to. Then I'll show you how. And instantly, the list that was impossible, you'll remember it backwards and forwards in 3 minutes. When you're done, I'm going to tell you this isn't a drill. It's a tool you'll use for the rest of your life. And it's so simple, 3-year-old children can learn it. It won't look like it at first, but you'll see when I'm done. Here are the 10 things you want to remember: pole, shoes, tricycle, car, glove, gun, dice, skate, cat, and bowling pins. And if you're like a normal person, you don't know 10 things right now. Probably a couple, but not 10. Now I'm going to teach you how to learn them super fast. Here's 2 caveats. You remember 10% of what you read, 90% of what you say and do. You're going to want to remember what I'm doing now because it's a tool. So when I ask you to say, do that to lock it in. Second, the ancient Greeks discovered a shortcut for memory. Take a list you know, it's hanging in your brain. What do you do with a hanger? You hang things on it. Take the list you're learning and combine it with the list you know. I'm going to bet everyone watching this podcast can count to 10. I feel very confident this is true. We're going to use the 10 numbers that are in your brain to learn those 10 things incredibly fast in any order, no problem. Beginning with the number 1. The number 1 looks like a flagpole. So when I say 1, you say pole. 1.
Pole.
Perfect. Remember, say and do. You won't learn by watching. You'll learn by doing. 2 is shoes. You wear 2 shoes. What's 2?
Shoes.
What's 1?
Pole.
3 is tricycle. 3 wheels. What's 3?
Tricycle.
2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
Perfect. 4 is a car. 4 tires on a car. What's 4?
Car.
2. Jump to 2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
3.
Tricycle.
Jumping doesn't matter now. 5 is a glove. How many fingers in a glove?
5.
What's 5?
Glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
Getting easier now.
Wow.
6 gun. They loved them in Texas when they lived there. 6 gun. What's 6?
Gun.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
Lucky 7 and dice. Lucky 7. What's 7?
Dice.
5. Giving you a clue.
Glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pull.
Rhymes work. Say 8 skate.
8, skate.
What's 8?
Skate.
6. What did they love in Texas?
Gun.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
9 is a cat. It has 9 lives. What's 9?
9 is cat.
7's lucky in what game?
Dice.
5.
Is glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pull.
Last number is 10. How many bowling pins in a bowling lane? 10 bowling
10.
pins. What's 10?
Pins.
1.
Pull.
2.
Shoes.
3.
Tricycle.
4.
Car.
5.
Glove.
6. Texas.
Gun.
7's lucky in.
Dice.
8 rhymes with.
Skates.
9 is a.
Cat.
What was 10?
10 was the what was 10 again?
The game
Oh,
of.
the pins, yes.
And that's how you learn. You if you make a mistake, you practice. Okay, this is how to speed learn numbers. Let me show you how it works. Imagine you're in a hotel and your room is 314. How many times by the time you got to the lobby, you forgot what room you were in? Here's how to remember a number. Turn the number into pictures and turn the pictures into a movie that moves along. So 3 is a tricycle, 1 is a pole, and 4 is a car. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Picture it. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle, what number?
3.
It's a pole.
1.
On a car.
4.
That's your hotel room. Tricycle, pole, car.
So you're constantly using these numbers when you're memorizing anything.
Yes. And it's also pi in geometry, 3.14. So when I'm with kids in school, I teach it for science, math, and history. Business, it's room numbers, phone numbers, product numbers, due dates, percentages, and the 0, because numbers go from 0 to 9. That's the alphabet. It's the 10 bowling pins, because everything else, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 have their own pictures. The 10 is the 0. So now you have a picture for every digit, and you just combine the images in a movie that moves. And when you visualize your movie, back comes the number.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a powerful tool.
That's what I do. I give you dozens of these tools in my program for different purposes. What you use in a language, someone might use in a science book. What they use in a science book, you might use in a novel. Everyone has a different brain with different areas that they're more comfortable learning and have more aptitude. So there isn't one thing that works in every subject for every person identically. So I give people those different tools and say, let's find the one that works for you right now and what you're doing, which may be different than what you did yesterday, but it's perfect for today for what you're doing. How much do you need to know? How much time do you have? There's actually different types of reading. There's inspectional reading, which is often what you do in a newspaper. You get the big picture. There was a summit, and this is the thing they covered. You're not learning each person who was there and everything they said. You might, but that's inspectional reading, is getting the big picture. The second level is analytical reading, where you're learning the topic very well. You're learning to master it. I did a graduate course in educational psych, which is a 5-month course in 7 hours. I read the book 4 times. I took the 6-hour test in 50 minutes and got a B+. I didn't need an A. I needed the credits, not the course. I always know what your win is. My win was the credits, not the course. I needed a C- to get the credit. A B+ was more than adequate for my purpose. And then there's syntopical reading. When you read multiple books with conflicting opinions and ideas, and then you have to come to a synthesis of it and say, okay, this 10 book, 5 are pro, 5 are con, whose argument was more persuasive, more factual, based on more believable data. And that's what's missing today in our society. People are very emotional. They're tribal. They tune out everything the other tribe is saying. It's not right. It's the wrong tribe. My tribe's right. Your tribe's wrong. They're not thinking. They're hating people today. They won't even be friends with people for having a different opinion. I got friends all over the spectrum. I don't agree with some of their ideas, but I like them as people. I don't care they have a different. My daughter has different philosophy than me. She's my daughter. I love her. That's going to change because she has a different opinion on something. That's called democracy. Having different opinions. It's not wrong to have a different opinion. What's wrong is not thinking and not using logic and reason. I'll give a good example. I just saw a news story. There's 700 people in downtown Dallas waiting for Robert Kennedy Jr. to come and be Trump's running mate in 2024. They're literally standing there waiting for a month, for a guy that's dead over 20 years to reappear. That's crazy. Okay. Believing in conservative philosophies isn't crazy. This country was founded on liberal and conservative. The early founding fathers disagreed over whether the government should be bigger or the states. That's always been in our country from day one. It was designed to force compromise. So the two opinions would influence each other and we get the best of both. That's what they designed it for. So people would dialogue, and here's what they would do in the past. Like Johnson was brilliant. Here's 20 things. 10 of them we both want. Let's just say those are going to happen. Here's 5 you want. We don't want those. We're going to give them to you because you need them. Here's 5 we want. You don't want, but we want. We're going to walk away. 5 for you, 5 for me, and 10 everybody likes. We just got 20 things passed. And they went home. That's how government was designed to function. Compromise, dialogue, not you're a bad person because you don't think like I do and we won't talk anymore. And you can't run a government like that. You can't run a planet the way it's going. People need to think and understand and communicate. Even when you don't have to agree, you can find common ground. There are things we can agree on, but not when you're over emotional and totally polarized and unwilling to be rational and hear the other person's ideas and see maybe that is a good idea. I think someone should be making change. That's called evolution. We don't look the way we did in the 1700s. We have electricity. We have planes. It's a different world. You can't expect what worked in 1700 to be exactly working today. It's a different world. On the other hand, there are things that you don't want to change that should stay in place. So you need that compromise. One group says, how do you pay for that? One group says, let's see if we can figure it out. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But that's how countries move forward, listening to both arguments and making judgment calls and compromising. And that's how businesses compromise. When you're in negotiations, you know what you want, and they know what they want. It may be not the same thing. Where's the common ground? Where can we meet somewhere where we're both happy? I didn't get quite what I wanted. You didn't get quite what you wanted. We're both going to make a lot of money anyway. And I'm okay with that. I work with people I don't like. I don't have to like them. They're not my friends. They're people I do business with. I prefer to be with people I like. It's nicer when you can share, social time with the person, say, this is a great person. I really enjoy them. But that isn't how I run a business. It's a business. It's about finding people who can help grow your business. It's nice if you agree. If you don't agree, so what? You agree on making money together and everybody comes away with more than they came with. That's what we need to start doing. We have to learn to think and not just feel. That's called, by the way, pathos is feelings, logos is logic, and ethos is facts. When you're writing, this is important. You need all 3 elements. You need to have your ethos, and that's not what you believe. That's what an expert says. That's incontroversial. They're telling you something, E equals MC squared. That's not your opinion. You could say, I'd rather use P equals MC squared. So what? You wouldn't be right because E does equals MC squared. That's not, anyone in physics is going to argue that. Okay. What you do with that formula, that's different. But that formula is true. Okay. So that's ethos. That's a fact. Now, logos is, what does it mean? How will I use this? What's its significance? What else can you tell me about it? How can I apply it in my business? Pathos is, how should I feel about what you're telling me? So when you're writing, you need all three elements. In your marketing, in your website, you need ethos, you need pathos, you need logos. What many people are missing is pathos. If you go to a lot of courses, they talk and they talk and they talk and they throw your head into a spin with all the facts. There's no fun. There's no joy. There's no pleasure. There's nothing emotional, and your brain goes to sleep. So it's very important that. So here's a good formula for it. First, you give your facts. Then there's your insights, and your insights could be either emotional insights, how you should feel about the facts, or they could be logical. Let me explain this better. Let me give you other opinions and elaborate and give you elucidate, bring in more data. And then there's significance. What's the significance of what I taught you? The significance can be an emotion or a fact, but here's the key. If your insight is emotional, your significance needs to be logical. If your insight is logical, your significance needs to be emotional. You need both. And then you summarize. And you don't introduce new things in the summary. If you do that in your writing, it'll be more impactful. You're doing a balance. This is Aristotle. Aristotle's poetics. He was brilliant. All writing needs to have three elements: facts, findings, feelings. When you're missing one of those three legs, it doesn't work. The emotion is what drives sales and interest, but it's based on the benefits and facts you gave them. I'm telling you, you're going to double your income doing this, and let me show you how. And you go, I can see that would help me. I don't care personally in business, I never care what something costs. I care how much money it makes. If it makes more than it costs, it's a win. If I spend $500 to make $100,000, I'll do that every day. Anyone who wouldn't do that doesn't belong in business. Okay. But if I spend $500 to make $1, I'll go out of business really fast. So it isn't what something costs, it's what something does. If it gives you a boost in your productivity and your benefits, who cares what it costs? I'll pay $10,000 for a $500,000 win. Who cares? I'll pay $400,000 for a $500,000 win. Who cares? But I won't pay $1 if I'm getting a dime. That's a losing proposition. So it's not cost, it's benefit. So in your writing, you have to show, why will this help me? What will this do for me? What will it accomplish? How does it work? And then tell me how I'm going to feel when I'm done with this. Create the emotion, because that's what drives the sale.
Yes. I love that formula, by the way. And pathos, lothos, and ethos. I love those ideas. I haven't heard those. I've heard the words, but I haven't heard that formula in that way. You said before that you wrote a book using, I'm sure, these 5 hours. And I'm sure you use these similar formulas when writing that book.
Yeah. Well, what most people have writer's block. It's common. Here's what causes it. One cause of writer's block is we normally communicate the way we are now. We talk. That's how people communicate. You think you talk. You think you talk. When you write, you're not using your mouth, you're using your hands. How do you write? You write symbols called letters, whether it's a pen, a pencil, or a keyboard. It's symbols. That's a different way of outputting thought. You have to create symbols. Not everybody's brain is comfortable making the switch from talking to using the hands. That causes a block. Another block, and this is a big one, is a conflict between the editor brain and the writing brain. The writing brain wants to write. The editing brain wants to write well. And so what happens, and see if you can relate, you write 10, 15, 20 lines. You look at what you wrote, say, this is garbage. And you hit the delete key over and over and over and over and over. Nothing got done. No. What you do is you write a first draft that's maybe a D, C minus quality. You just let the creative brain tell the story. It's terrible, but it's a complete story. It's not very polished. After you told the story, go back with your editing brain and adjust and perfect and beautify it. Smooth out the transitions, use better elocution, make it more impactful. That's an editing function. The problem is it's difficult to write and edit simultaneously. Those are both complete opposite skills in the brain. Writing is big picture, it's creative, it's insightful. Editing is small chunk procedural. You're looking at the dots on the I's and the crosses on the T's. You cannot write intuitively while you're doing micromanaging at the same time. You're either micromanaging or you're creating. You can't do them at the same. You can do them in sequence, not at the same time. And I have stages that I identify which you go through. And when you do them the way I describe, and it's easy to learn, I had, again, 11 to 15-year-olds. This was a homeschool program. So there was a lot of religious kids. So they did 28-page MLA-cited reports on the book of Matthew in 4 hours at the graduate level. We actually had a theology seminary grade that took the tests. We took these kids. My business associate had a PhD in theology, is teaching graduate students. So he told the dean, he's having trouble grading papers. Could he help? Didn't tell them it was the kids. He thought it was the graduate class. So he's reading these reports, and he said, okay, 2 of them got second-year graduate credit, 2 of them got first-year graduate credit, but the rest of them, I gave them senior credit. And this is a graduate program. I'm a little disappointed. He said, well, the oldest paper you read was by a 15-year-old. There were 11 to 15-year-olds. And I think if an 11-year-old's writing at the senior college level, it's pretty damn good. That's what I teach. It's not hard. Everything I've shown you so far is pretty easy to do. And that's how it should be. Solutions should be easier than problems they solve, or it's just a new problem.
Absolutely. And again, everyone, links are in the description to go check out Berg Learning, where you can check out all of Howard's different techniques and philosophies and different toolboxes that you can use, whether it's for reading or writing or writer's block or activating your creative genius, whatever it is. Howard, I want to touch on your newest program.
We help them. If they need help, we have a team that works. And when they don't help, I do. Personally, for 2 reasons. I want to know someone has a problem, so I fix it. I'm doing this 35 years, so I fix the problems. There aren't any. But occasionally, someone has a unique situation. I want to know, because it doesn't matter what I think. It's not about me. It's about my clients. Am I giving them what they want, what they need? Am I fixing their problem? If I'm not, then I'm not doing my job. And I need to know what's going wrong so I can change what you don't keep doing what isn't working. You make adjustments. So I get personally, and you can see I'm a Rotary president. And to me, when you're in Rotary, it's about delivering on your promises. If I can't give them what they paid for, I don't want their money. I think you should actually give people what they paid for. So they walk away saying, that worked. It was worth every penny I paid. And I want more. And I want them to. That's how you run a business. If I don't have more clients, I'm going to go broke. But I have to earn that. People don't trust people in business because most people don't run businesses like that. You earn it by actually doing what you promise and giving what you promise. And I think you should under-promise and over-deliver. I'll tell most people will read 100% faster. Many will read more, but I'm not going to say that, because then if they don't, they're going to say I didn't achieve my goal. yeah, it's possible to go much more than 100%, but I'm not going to promise it because I know for certain everyone's going to go 100. If I knew everyone would go 400, I'm talking immediate, I'd say that, but I'd rather have them go 400 and expect 100 than go 100 and expect 400. Don't overpromise. Give more than you promise and give more value than you charge for. If people see you actually give a damn, I'm going to tell you a funny story if I can. I
Please.
was with Joe Franklin. He was the longest running show in history. 50 years, one person. And I was fortunate to be on his show 3 weeks before he went off the air. He's retiring. And I said, Joe, what's your secret? How did you manage to have the longest running show in history? And he smiled and he looked at me and he said, sincerity. And when you can fake that, you can do anything. I want you to know no one can fake sincerity for 50 years, maybe for 5 minutes, not for 50 years. It's impossible. But what made it work was him, his personality, his ability to be funny and entertaining and interesting. And I believe when you're teaching, part of it should be fun. It can't just be fact after fact after fact till your brain goes numb. People don't learn that way. Make it entertaining. Make it an experience for them. This has been great. I hope people are watching and saying, this has been great. I really like what he's doing. It's interesting. And it's teaching me something. That's what I think teaching should be. You should walk away thinking, I want more. I love what you're doing. I love how you're doing it. They want more. It's not a magic trick. Buy my crap. No. It's look at what I do for free and what I'm giving you and how it's helping you. Think about what you get when you pay for it. You match. And that's not magic trick. It's honest. It's honest. And that builds trust and reliability. People can see you give a damn. And I do. I'm a grandparent. And I look at the world we're in, look at our country. I'm really alarmed at the future for our children and the world in general. And we're giving them global warming and exploding deficits. And what are we going to do to make them smart enough so they could solve some of the problems? It's not just about me. If you'd like, I could show you how to solve that in 90 seconds. Then I'll talk about genius. Would that be okay?
Yeah, please. I'm open for it.
Okay. How do you go green, make more money for oil, gas, and coal companies, create hundreds of thousands of jobs, and eliminate the deficit in 90 seconds? Okay.
Okay.
How do you make electricity? Basically, you spin a wire around a magnet or a magnet inside a wire. That's how you make electricity. How do you spin it? Well, if you got a river like the Niagara River, Niagara Falls, that's going to help. But there aren't a lot of those rivers. So what do they use? They use steam. How do you get steam? You use oil, you use coal, you use gas, and sometimes nuclear fuel. But there's another way. In Iceland, it's an island and it's a volcano. And the magma is very close to the surface and there's lots of water. It's an island. So they boil the water using the heat from the magma, which is totally green. Well, America isn't a volcano, but it has one of the largest supervolcanoes in the world in Yellowstone. And there's lots of water. So you get the oil, coal, and gas companies to build these buildings for geothermal energy. It's got to be easier to find magma in Yellowstone than a new oil field. And now the people that are being displaced, the coal miners, the people in the oil and gas industry, build the infrastructure and maintain it. So that's a lot of great jobs that'll be needed. And here's the best part. Yellowstone is a national park. You charge a usage fee for every kilowatt and use the money to pay the deficit. And that's how you can do all of it at the same time. Now, that's an example of what genius is about, seeing a problem differently. And if you'd like, I could teach you how to do that.
Please. Yeah.
Genius is basically the emotional brain, not the logical brain. A logical brain can handle 7 things at once, typically. It's where it maxes out. The unconscious has no max. It can do as many things as it needs to. The problem with the emotional brain is it's nonverbal. And you've experienced it. Sometimes you get a feeling, I know I'm supposed to be doing something right now. I don't know what it is, but I better be doing it or I'm in deep trouble. And you can't verbally figure out what it is. It's very annoying. It's like a sneeze that doesn't come out. The unconscious brain communicates with feeling. So this is how you can communicate. Now I read fast, so I'll read 10 books in 3 hours. You could realistically read a book an hour very, very easily.
Wow.
So read a couple of books. The data in those books has the solution to the problem you're trying to solve. You haven't solved it yet, but that's where the solution is. And now you ask yourself an emotionally significant question. What does that mean? You said, Howard, do I need a root canal? I said, you need 10 root canals. Would you feel good or bad? Let's see, you'd feel pretty lousy, unless you're the dentist. She said, Howard, did I win the lottery? Yeah, you won $70 million. I'm thinking you'd feel pretty good about that. So based on the question you asked, how should you feel if it's a yes, good or bad? And then reflect, how do you feel, good or bad? Based on your feelings, you know if it's a yes or a no. And you ask enough of those questions, you get some pretty good information. Now, initially, you have to do that, but here's the beauty of the brain. When a neural pathway is used a number of times, it myelinates, it builds a coating, like a wire has a coating on it, and it becomes more of a highway instead of a dirt road. And so those 2 parts of your brain, the limbic system, the middle of the brain, and the forebrain, the conscious part of the brain, start connecting more and more and more. Over time, you don't have to think as much and ask questions, they connect, and you become very insightful. Now, let me show you an example of how that can be done with a symbol. Is that okay?
Please.
There's 3 levels of learning. This is science, not metaphysics. 3 levels, literal, implied, and inferential. I'm going to do an experiment to demonstrate these 3 levels for you. I want you to visualize a giant circle with a dot in the middle. What are you visualizing?
Giant circle with a dot in the middle.
That's literal. And that's how most learning is. It's words on a page. You're looking at the words, you're memorizing them. You don't know what to do with it, but you learned stuff. What you do with it, no one taught you, which is why a lot of people fail tests because they have to think. They never learned how to think with it. They just learned the data. In business, it's not enough to have the data. You have to know how to use it. That's level 1. That's literal. Second level, let me tell you, it's not just a circle with a dot. It's a symbol of the sun in astronomy. And because initially astrology and astronomy were the same discipline, not anymore, it's a symbol of the sun in astrology too. That's more interesting than it's a circle with a dot, but not blowing your socks off. Now I'm going to tell you it's one of the meanings of life. A circle with a dot in the middle is a meaning of life. I'm going to go inferential. This is where you're getting the deeper meaning and significance. And let me show you what it actually means symbolically, metaphorically. The point is infinitesimally small. Wherever you look, there's an infinite number of points, but they're invisible. You don't see them. So it symbolizes spirit or God, something that fills everything you see, and you don't see it anywhere. It's invisible, but everywhere. The circle is a symbol of a boundary. Everything inside is self. Everything outside isn't you. So what is it saying? Everything is one thing at the center. We're all God. We're all spirit. We look different. We act different. We seem different. But essentially, we're something called humanity. Humanity is a thing. And we're a cell in this body of an organism called humanity. Brotherhood isn't just a euphemism, it's a reality. We're as strong as the weakest member of our family and as strong as the strongest member of our family. So doing good isn't just for you. Like I work with the Rotary. There was a school in Malawi that these girls were getting raped, going to get water. So the Rotary built a school with a well so they could have a place to learn and still get the water and not get raped. So I donated my program because they're the poorest country in the world. My program would be 10 years of their income, maybe more, and they don't have food. So I just gave it to them to help. I did it in Haiti, another Rotary school, poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. They're orphans. What's an orphan going to do? Buy my program? Of course not. Not in Haiti. So I just gave it to them to help them, to raise them out of poverty, because the way we're going to solve the problems in our world isn't bullets and bombs, it's learning, giving people jobs and skills and making an income, having a home and a family and feeling secure. People who have that don't want to blow themselves up. People who are desperate, have nothing, see no future, have nothing to lose, do desperate and crazy things. So that's one of the reasons I do this. I'm trying to help people to realize that the answer to the world's problems is through learning. It's going to make a difference. I don't have to reach everyone. If I reach people who can think, that are leaders, they will bring this message to their herd. And that will change the way the world is going. Not because of me, because collectively, all of us together do something. When you see the reason you're here today, Brandon, and I'm here, is someone's growing food right now on a farm that we need to eat. And someone's making our clothes, and someone's running an internet, and someone's making electricity. If we had to do all that ourselves, we couldn't be here today.
Yeah.
We do too busy planting food. You should be grateful for everybody out there doing everything they do. Don't look down on people. Be grateful to those people. You could never be who you are and do what you do without them. And recognize that we all need to help each other. And that's where we become a better world. By cooperation, not competition. By compassion. I tell you, you need to learn the wisdom of love, and you need to learn a love of wisdom. And I hope that's what I've done today, is help people get that message. My programs are designed to change your ability to learn and use information so you can become more productive and more profitable, so your kids finish school with good grades and then know how to build a company, make money. I had a group of 11 to 15-year-olds in Sugar Land, Texas. One of the children's brothers had Downs and they wanted to help. So they started a not-for-profit. Using my skills, they learned how to build a website, do public speaking. Their first year in business, these children, 11 to 15, made 93,000 American dollars. They were 11 years old. And they won the Silver Pyramid, which is the Oscar in advertising. They beat Rotary. They beat Red Cross. They're 11 years old. Those children will never need a job. Those children understand how to build a company. This is what America needs. This is what the world needs. Smart people who understand how to make a living and adjust to change quickly without getting over emotional, and help other people and make a difference. And I hope I've done that today. Please
You absolutely
consider
have.
going to my website. I'm doing what I can. I can't make you come to the program. It's like a horse. I can give you the water, but I can't make you drink it. And I'm hoping what I've done today will give you enough reason to consider using what I've developed. And remember, I'll help you if you need it. I'll make sure you actually get what you paid for. So it's going to make your life better. Share it with your kids, grandkids, and nieces and nephews so they learn. And grandma and grandpa, so they don't turn into fruits and vegetables and lose their brains when they get older. I'm 72. No one's considering me feeble-minded because I still do things. I stay vibrant. I act. I don't sit. And that's all I can do. I'm trying my best to make a difference.
You're making that difference, my friend. I appreciate your time. I'm grateful for you joining us today, and just thank you for everything you're doing and continue to do, Howard. It was a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
I enjoyed. Maybe next time we could talk about how to write a book in a day.
Yes, we will have to make that happen.
It's easy. You can write a book in a couple of hours and it'll be a perfect book.
I believe it. We'll talk about that in the future. Howard, thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy. Please go to berglearning.com and see for yourself what I've done today is just the tip of the iceberg of what you're capable of doing for yourself, your business, and your family.
You take care.
Bye.
What that was a conversation with a man who is hell bent on creating a positive impact in the world, an even greater positive impact with his courses and his learnings and his lessons and his experience through reading thousands and thousands of books using his own teachings. And again, at berglearning.com, you can check out all of Howard's programs and courses and lessons so that you can read faster, but not just read faster, but comprehend what you read, enter a state of flow, tap into your creative genius, solve these giant problems in the world that really need solving by doing one thing that is absolutely needed right now, which is using your mind and thinking and communicating and sharing different ideas. This was quite an episode. Again, if you found any value from this, share this show with one friend who could use this. And until you and I talk again next time, continue to be better.